on other nations to step up and join the fight to destroy ISIS and other terror groups around the world. British Prime Minister David Cameron boldly stated, "We need to recognize our enemy for what it is, radical Islamic terror."
I believe what we have here today is the emergence of a global movement that is united by the mission of degrading and ultimately destroying ISIL.
Every religion has its extremists, but we have to be frank that the biggest problem we have today is the Islamist extremist violence that has given birth to ISIL, to Al-Shabaab, to Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, and so many other groups. Now, these people claim to act in the name of the Islamic religion. They don't. I can say they don't. I can say they don't over and over again. You can say they don't, but there's nothing more powerful than what, for instance, the King of Jordan has just said when Muslim leaders and Muslim countries reclaim their religion and explain why what these people are saying is not Islam, it is a perversion of Islam.
Former United States Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton goes on the record. Good evening, Ambassador, and can you compare and contrast both President Obama and Prime Minister David Cameron as they address this issue of terrorism?
Well, I think Prime Minister Cameron has a more realistic view of what might be possible. But honestly, this entire summit today, I think, was kind of beside the point. Nothing is going to happen here at the United Nations. The United Nations has never been effective in dealing with international terrorism, and nothing that any of the leaders said today really changes that. I think we're pretty much where we were at the end of yesterday. Putin has a strategy, a controversial one not in American interest, but that's the one that's on the table now, frankly, and I think the Europeans are beginning to respond to it.
Ambassador, President Obama says there's no doubt President Assad of Syria must be removed from power. Exactly, take that one step further. What is he talking about? How is that going to be done? And haven't we heard that one before?
Well, we've heard it ever since the Syrian civil war broke out, and he's done effectively nothing to accomplish that objective. He also said today, as you noted earlier, that he'd be willing to work with Russia and Iran to ease Assad out of power. And he said that for 4 years, too.
But wait a second, let's stop for a second.
There's one problem with that analysis, and that is that Iran and Russia have no intention of easing Assad out of power.
That was exactly what I was going to say. How is that going to happen? Because Vladimir Putin wants Assad to stay in power. So exactly how, if we're all working together, we seem to have very different goals. How do you work together when you have different goals?
Well, we're not going to work together, and the president's going to fail again in his estimation about what's going to happen to Assad. There was a very telling statement by Josh Earnest a couple of days ago when asked how the president explained the failure of $40 to $50 million of training of the so-called moderate Syrian opposition. And Josh Earnest, in a statement that really didn't get much attention, said, well, the president was really never in favor of that, and the collapse, the embarrassing failure of that program proved he was right. I mean, these people still don't know what their policy is.
Is it a big deal that Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Russia, Vladimir Putin, had this sort of joint intelligence sharing agreement? Is that a big deal, and the fact that we're left out of it, or is it not a big deal?
No, it's a big deal, and I think it really reflects part of a larger Russian strategy to challenge the United States for dominance in the Middle East. The axis that already existed between Iran, the Baghdad government, which really only covers the Shia parts of Iraq, dominated by the mullahs in Tehran, Syria, Hezbollah, and Lebanon, is the pre-existing Iranian axis, with which Russia is now joined even more clearly because of the construction of the air base at Latakia. This is the Entente or alliance, whatever you want to call it, that's now bidding for dominance in the region.
Ambassador, thank you, sir.